Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge. This is your latest Manchester United transfer news. Andre Onana is leaving Manchester United. That's not an angry lion or even a happy lion. That's meant to be a crowd. Absolutely huge news for United this. Onana heading off to Trabzonspor. This is the latest from David Ornstein. Onana is open to joining Trabzonspor, waiting to review the contract for a potential loan move. They want him available for next game against Fenerbahce. There is no loan fee or buy option, which we'll delve into in a moment. But I feel vindicated here. I feel really vindicated here. I don't want this community to get medals or awards or anything like that, but it was our source in March that said Onana wanted, it was our source in March international break that said Amorim and Wilcox had enough Onana and wanted to replace him. And it was Tuesday morning, right at the end of the show, where I said Onana or Bienda, one will be gone in this international break. And lo and behold, it's happened because it was always going to happen. They can spin it, they can turn it, they can do whatever they like, but it was always going to happen. Amorim wanted rid of Onana, his #1 goalkeeper from last season. It's a huge loss for Manchester United, not in relation to his ability, God no, but in relation to financial. When you think about letting David De Gea, who was probably, you know, a £30 million goalkeeper at the time, let him go for free because we let his contract run down. Spent 50 on Onana plus 140 grand a week, and here we are 2 years later letting him go for free on loan. You know, financially it's been a bloody mess, but none of the people part of that deal are here anymore. I think you've just got to deal with what's going on. So a real positive there. I want to delve into that, but I also want to not get this in the first few minutes. So this morning, we did a video on this Mainoo Instagram post about the drummer and the training. I hadn't seen the film. I'm a huge fan of Mainoo. I sort of swept it under the carpet last night, saw all the reaction this morning and last night, and we did a video on the news show about it to say that, look, it could mean one or two things. It could mean nothing. It could mean something. It's very ambiguous. I've been in Southampton today, so I've driven for about 5 hours. I was watching my daughter play football. I got home tonight, preparing for this show, to death threats again. And I'm just, you know what, I'm never going to hide away from that. It's unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable for people to be making threats like that. You know, you should be looking in the mirror tonight and looking in the mirror and realizing you've got no integrity and you're a bad person. Because to start aiming threats at me about that story, I have no involvement in it. I literally said this morning, Mainoo is the midfielder that can change our season. So I don't get this. Anyway, lo and behold, the United Stand on Instagram today, when I'm not even working, has posted a little clip from our morning show, and Mainoo has replied saying stretch. And his reply has sparked this pile on to me and this channel again. Oh, he's going to go for him like Rashford. Oh, this channel's so toxic, this, that, and the other. These people are vermin. They are vermin. They're the ones who cause the real division in the fan base. Because if anybody actually watches the show this morning, at no point ever have I ever said anything bad about Mainoo. In fact, he's one of my favourite players. I want him in the team. I don't want him to go. I think he has to be in the team because our midfield's shit, and he should be in the team, and he can be in the team if he works hard. So I'm just going to hit this on straight away. I think it's really good that Mainoo replied because he said stretch, which means it's an over-exaggeration. And I was talking about the post that Nathan Salt, the journalist, put out saying the film that I've never seen is actually about a guy who gets basically suppressed by his coach and has a mental breakdown, etc. Mainoo has replied that's a stretch, which in my opinion is him saying that's not what I meant by it. So we can all move on. He's here to work at Man United. Great. Our clip actually did something good. It made Mainoo clarify it, which is great. And we should all move on. And that's it. I think it's a real positive. Some people have took it that for some weird reason, we have an agenda against Mainoo as a community. We're going to hunt Mainoo down and force him out of the club because Rashford replied to a United Stand tweet, which was nothing to do with me as well. So, yeah, welcome to the world. Apparently, the United Stand has an agenda against Kobbie Mainoo, and we're going to hunt him out of this football club and get rid of him. All I'm going to say is, if you think that, you're entitled to your opinion. You go and live under your little rock with your made-up evil thoughts, that's fine. But death threats, come on. Look in the mirror and realise you are aiming that level of threat against somebody for no reason. Absolutely the opposite, actually. Absolutely the opposite. Like, I want Mainoo in the team. I think he's a brilliant player. I want him staying at Man United, as I've said the whole time. I just want him to get his head down, work, and get into a midfield I know he can get into. And I'm actually glad that he replied to our post, because it's literally him saying, that's not what I meant by it. It's an exaggeration, which is great. So brilliant. I actually think we've done good, because it wasn't us who put that rumour out in the first place. We were just doing a news show reacting to what everyone was talking about. And by reacting to it, he's reacted to us and put it to bed. I don't see the negative. We didn't start the fire. It was already burning. We just discussed the fire and said, why is it burning? And then Mainoo's come along with a big bottle of water, bucket of water, and said, it's an overreaction. And we all move on. Brilliant. But people, oh God, I wish he was, wish he was dead and all this, that and the other and all that. And it's like, we've literally solved the problem. We spoke about it. He's responded to it. It's over. Didn't even bloody start it. So look, if you just, I have to hit it on because I've had a busy day. I've not been around. I've seen it. And you log on to prepare for the show about Onana and you see all that shit and you just think, oh God. These people think you and I are the people that divide the fan base. So we want our players to play. We want our managers to succeed. We want Man United back on the top. But apparently we're the ones that cause the problem, not the people who are, making stuff up and sending death threats and stuff like that and trying to divide the fan base to attack different people. Yeah, they're the good people. We're the bad people, apparently. But look, I will ignore it. But ultimately, I didn't want that towards the end of the show, considering we had a show at the start. We had a show this morning about that story, reacting to that story. We've now got clarity from Mainoo that was an exaggeration from whoever was saying that, he was literally meaning that film where he was feeling suppressed. I think we can take it that he meant that, he's going to work really, really hard, which is great. And, apparently in that film, at the end, he ends up really, really good. So great. So I'm actually glad we spoke about it. Well, we're never not going to be honest with you, and can I just say as well, we're never not going to talk about the news around Man United either. Like, it was a little bit ambiguous, because some people took it the wrong way. So of course it was ambiguous. We've now got clarity because we spoke about it. I applaud that. I haven't seen the film, Ducker. I don't know whether it's a spoiler. Anyway, back to more positive, and I think that is a positive update, by the way. So well done to this community, because Mainoo saw it somehow, and probably because you were all interacting with it, which is great. Onana to Trabzonspor is also brilliant news. I mean, in a weird way, we're sort of working towards the best case scenario. We didn't get the experienced goalkeeper, but we got Lammens. We didn't get the midfielder, but we've got Mainoo still here and by all accounts ready to work and get into that midfield. So look, we needed a midfielder. We needed an experienced goalkeeper. We didn't get it, but we've got a goalkeeper and we've got Mainoo, and we go with what we've got and we hope it's going to be good enough. And in relation to the goalkeeper, as I've said many, many times, I would rather have Binder than Onana. I did see an interesting comment this evening, where somebody said, if you'd said to me when David De Gea left for Onana, in 2 years' time, Binder and a 23-year-old from Belgium would be our goalkeepers, I'd probably be a little bit scared. But in the circumstances, it's the best scenario. And I completely agree with that. I think you had David De Gea, who just won the Golden Glove. We kicked him out. We spent £50 million on Onana. And 2 years later, we're kicking him out to go with Binder, who's not really set the world on fire, and a young goalkeeper with no experience. But in the scenario that Amorim has inherited, I actually think it's the best case scenario, because I think Onana just has to go. Look, God, if you had any reservations, that Grimsby game was absolutely horrific. Horrific. And not just the 2 goals conceded, where he was absolutely shocking on both, but the penalty shootout, where a bag of potatoes would have had a better chance of saving one. It was absolutely horrific. And in a way, look, and I know this to be true. He is a popular person around the club. He's very close to people like Mbeumo, obviously their national team teammates. They are, and he is a popular player at the club. And Amorim doesn't dislike Onana. It's just like liking somebody and then going, you're not good enough to start for my team. And it's a sad end for Onana at Manchester United. because his last game's going to be the Grimsby game. But it was shocking. It was, maybe over the summer he thought, I've got a chance. They've not bought a goalkeeper, but you can't play like he did against Grimsby. I mean, it was bad. It was really, really bad. And look, some people saying it's embarrassing that we're not going to get a loan fee and there's no obligation to buy. Is it embarrassing? I mean, to me, if I'm being honest, the only thing popular about Onana at the moment is the Pratt Man song. And, as the architect of that inadvertently, I didn't write the song. I didn't do the clips, but everybody keeps saying they've seen it. That's sort of Onana. And that's not because, that's not Phil Jones with the pink boots. That's not just an unfortunate meme. It's not like the Bo Selector guy who took a well-known male artist called Craig David and turned him into a big puppet that went, I'm Craig David on T4, can I get a rewind? With Kez, completely butchered his career. We haven't butchered Onana's career. He's butchered it himself. There's, people call him Pratt Man and all that, but, he has been absolutely shite, and it's well known. It's well established that he's crap. And, I'm sure every club in world football knows that Onana isn't worth any money. So I think that the reality is that, look, we didn't get a loan fee for Rashford. I believe Rashford is a good player. I want to talk about Rashford a little bit later, actually, because there's some right nonsense being written about him over this international break. But we didn't get a loan fee for Rashford because his wage was so big. We're not getting a loan fee for Onana because he's basically perceived as being shit. Now, remember at the start of the week, I got a little bit of kickback on this because there was a story about Onana and Saudi, and I said it's absolutely not true. The Saudis are not stupid. They're not just rich people that will buy a turd if you say it's gold. They won't do it. And they were not in for Onana. They could afford Onana like that and they could give him big wages, but they don't want shit. And they didn't want Onana. It wasn't on. It might have been on at the start of the summer, but it wasn't on in the last week or so. So, beggars can't be choosers. There is a club in Turkey that wants to take Onana on, but they are not willing to give us a loan fee. I think this is a good deal for everybody because he's valueless. He's absolutely got no value, but he's got 3 years left on his contract at 140 grand a week. 140 grand a week for a goalkeeper is the equivalent of 200 grand a week for an outfield player. It's a lot of money. So we've got a very expensive goalkeeper that somebody's going to take off our hands. Why would we get a loan fee as well? We wouldn't. He's very expensive, his wages. And I don't even know if Trabzonspor will pay all of his wages as well. So for us to be able to move him out, hopefully he does quite well. And in a year's time, in that league, which is quite a wealthy league, somebody in that league might look at it and go, we want to buy him permanently. And he's only got 2 years left on his contract. So this is the long goodbye for Onana. We saw it with Anthony. We've seen it with Sancho. This is just a guy that's got no value, who's on big wages with 3 years left on his contract. This is removing a year of his contract, which brings his book value down, and somebody covers off some of his wages, and we remove him from the club. It's a good deal. It's a good deal for him because he's still relatively young. It's a good deal for the Turkish league because Onana is a well-known goalkeeper, and it's a good deal for us because we remove him from the equation. And when I mean we remove him from the equation, he can't be in the conversation anymore for the Manchester derby. It's literally going to be Binder or Lammens. And I think it will be Binder, but I don't think Binder is a number one goalkeeper for Man United. And therefore, Onana won't because he's not around. So, yeah, I think it's a good one. I think it's a good deal for Manchester United. I'm not surprised by it. I'm not shocked by it. As I said, we had it on good authority that Binder or Onana would go this international break. And I'd rather it was Onana than Binder. Get your comments in, by the way. Brandon says, to be honest, the fact that we aren't paying a loan fee for the Turkish league to take Onana is a win, says Brandon. The fact that we're not paying the loan fee. I get it. Good one, Brandon. Mainoo needs to prove Amorim he can play with Bruno, says Timo. Nigel says, I don't mind a loan. If he stayed, we would have been knocked out of the FA Cup. He's that bad. Yeah, we've got a chance to win. You know what? That's a great point. We've got a chance to win in the FA Cup now because he won't be playing in goal as our cup goalkeeper. Saint Blanco says, Mark, you were grumpy this morning, but you're my GOAT regardless. Mainoo is Bruno's successor. It's too obvious. It's only a fuss because of the World Cup. I don't think I was grumpy this morning, but if I was, a fair play. Karan says, just because we're in a financial mess, it doesn't mean that we need to take away Amorim's right to make mistakes. He will make mistakes, but as a progressive man, he will learn from them, and we need to back him. Teeb says, I'm glad the Prattman video worked. Who knows? I don't think the Prattman video works. It might have brought a bit of publicity to Onana. I don't think it necessarily worked. I was down in Southampton today for this match, and a lot of people were saying about the Prattman video. I said I can't take any credit for it. It's some genius on TikTok who edited it all together. Jack Glancy says, goodbye, Andre. Believable player, terrified his teammates and inspired the opposition. Prattman forever, says Jack. And Abraham says, hi, Mark. Romano says, clubs have agreed terms, but player needs to agree. What are the chances that Onana says no and sits on his arse for 140 grand a week, says Abraham. I think that with regards to 140 grand a week, look, I've always said this about Onana. It's like the Game of Thrones. You either win or you die. I'll stop. The Game of Thrones, you either win or you die. I think Onana played the game of Manchester United's #1 goalkeeper, and he failed. I think there was an opportunity to leave on his own accord at the start of the summer when Man United made it clear that they would like him to move. He chose not to, believing that United would not have the funds to replace him and that he would get another chance. We came back for the Arsenal game. There was no goalkeeper and he got dropped. And at that point, I think he realised he'd played the game and lost. He got in goal for the Grimsby game and I think he thought, oh, I've got a chance again. And then he watched the highlights and went, I've really fucked up. Then Lammens comes in and he goes, yeah, okay, I tried it. I think Onana knew he wasn't wanted, but thought, if they can't replace me, I'll get another chance and prove them wrong. There's nothing wrong with that, I'm sure we've all done it in life. People, you think you can prove people wrong. If he turns down this offer to go to Turkey, it would just be, it wouldn't be mercenary. It would be ridiculous. You know you're not wanted. They want to move you on. And if you stay, you're just going to irritate the people that want you to move on so that they don't use you even more. So if Onana wants to sit on his arse all season and earn 140 grand a week, by all means say no. But, look at people like Rasmus. Look at people, in that case, he wanted to stay. He tried it a little bit. He wasn't in the match day for Arsenal and Fulham, and he went, okay, I get the message. I don't want to go. I want to stay and fight, but you're not going to give me a chance. I'm going to go. And I think Onana has to do that now. Because to stay, you're never going to turn this ship around. Like, you're never going to get another opportunity. And actually saying no will do you more damage. So he has to go. He has to go. If he stays, he becomes basically... you start falling into the category of Garnacho and Sancho. And I actually do not think Onana is a bad person. I do not think he has disrespected Manchester United at all. I think some people are fed up with his goalkeeping ability, and I'd put my hand up to that. He's been a nightmare as a goalkeeper. I mean, has there been a worse Manchester United goalkeeper in Premier League history? Well, there is. His name was Taibi from Torino. He was bloody awful. He only played 2 games. But, Onana is the most expensive goalkeeper in our history, and he's definitely in the top 3 as our worst ever Premier League goalkeepers, which is not a great record. There's no lie about that. He's been a bloody nightmare. In the first 6 months, he cost us the Champions League, and it got worse. So, nice guy. Hopefully he can turn his career around, but at Man United, it's been a bloody nightmare, and the jersey's been too big for him. He can move on, and I don't think there's anybody that wouldn't wish him all the best. He's not done damage at Man United where people dislike him, like Di Maria or Tevez. He's just not been good enough. And I don't think there's a United fan out there that when he leaves would go, I hope he flops, I hope he fails. It's not like certain other players that have left this summer. Garnacho. So no, I just think, look, I think if you're not good enough for United and you put your hands up and say, okay, I'm going to go, then you go with the best wishes, I'm sure. Anwar says, Flex United said he does not think Amorim will turn it around. What do you think about negativity surrounding the club? I disagree with it. You know, I disagree with it. I think it's a shame when a Man United fan this early in the season basically turns on the manager, and that's turning on the manager. I mean, you could say, I don't think he's going to turn it around, but I hope he does. Why say? Why utter the words? Just, you know, for me, that's Amorim out. But there are Amorim outers there. I don't understand it, but I know they're there. There are, you know, these Amorim outers are hiding in plain sight. Like, some are subtle with things like that. You know, I don't think he's going to turn it around, but I'll give him a chance. Oh, how noble of you. Some people are like, I told you so. I told you so. I said after the bloody Wolves game to get rid of him. I think that hopefully they're in for a very miserable and long ride, waiting to be proven right. Because I want to see this manager backed for a very long time. And I think that's the majority view, and hopefully that's the player view as well. Are you going to watch Whiplash? Mate, I'm watching it tonight. Jims, I'm watching it tonight. You know, who's not watching Whiplash tonight? Mainoo has literally probably put that film #1 trending on Amazon, Netflix, or wherever it is. But I am watching it tonight because everybody's told me it's a really good film. The comments were full about it. And, you know, I am watching it tonight. It's an Oscar-winning film as well, Ewan, as well. I can't wait. Yeah, great. And I'm very grateful for Mainoo for replying to our post as well, because we've got the clarity. He didn't mean anything bad against the manager or the club, you know, which is great. Will Lammens be #1 or will he fight with Binder, says Rajaf? I think that, well, can I run a poll on this, actually? I'm going to run a poll on this. Start a poll. Who would you start against City? Now, I say this, I don't think, just take a beat, because if you say Lammens, remember you're throwing him into a massive game against Manchester City where we may lose at their place, and if he has a bad game, you know, he starts off on a bad start. Do you wait a little bit to give Lammens a start? Do you maybe wait until, I'm just having a look at our fixtures. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh no, start him against City, but Evra started against City and he had a bloody nightmare and he ended up being a legend. But with a goalkeeper and this press, it's a different world. Do you throw him into that game, or do you put Binder in goal and go a little bit longer term with Lammens? Because what I'm basically saying is our next few games are Man City away, Chelsea at home, Brentford away, and then Sunderland at home. I mean, you could literally wait till Brentford or Sunderland where the pressure's off a little bit. Or do you just throw him straight into the deep end? Let me know your thoughts on that. Says death threats, disgusting, community loves you, thank you very much. Tribute for Onana, streets will forget, playable on his day, you don't have to be there, played for pure hate of the game, gone but also forgotten. This is TV. Hedgehog at the balloon party gone, great news, Mark, says Bounty Hunter. Finally, we have rid of Onana. Do you think Lammens starts against City? We're just answering that now. Scott, hope you're doing well. Thanks for being a member. People who do that are cowards, Mark, says Dale. Eric Ten Hag treatment to Ronaldo is karma in return. More, please, says JB. Slow Sports News. Pratt man has taken the Pratt plane to Turkey and will be a Pratt somewhere else, says Jack Glancy. I'm so happy. First Ten Hag gets karma now this, says Parker. Get the champers out, says Gems. Thanks, Gems, one of our mods there. And Dragon Guide says, honestly, I love how ruthless Amorim is. He gets it. And you know what? You know what? What a comment. This is what really winds me and many people who support this manager up. Because we at Man United, over the last 10 years, have been rubbish at removing rubbish players. Victor Lindelof was here for 8 years. Luke Shaw's been here for nearly 10. Delo's been here for years. Now, I'm not saying they're rubbish, but they are players that get recycled under every manager. Maybe they need to go. Maybe they needed to go. Maybe these needed removing. And they have never been removed. And worse than that, we're rubbish at removing even people like Jadon Sancho, who shouldn't be here. We can't get rid of him. So Amorim comes in a month, having only been here for a month, he drops Garnacho and Rashford for a Manchester derby at the Etihad, and we win. Then the following month in January, he removes Rashford and Antony because he says, you know, these are not the type of players that I want. Despite bad results, he draws a line in the sand and says, move out. In the summer, we come back from the summer break, and we're used to seeing the Pereiras and the Donny van der Beeks, who have got no future at the club, walking in, smiley face, first week in July, everyone like that. We're all dreading what would be named the bomb squad walking in, Garnacho, Antony, you know. No, Amorim says, absolutely do not want them here. No, I do not want them here at all. You know, brilliant. And then, on top of that, Onana, his goalkeeper, the most expensive goalkeeper we have, dropped out of sight, nowhere near my team. So, you know, you got all this Amorim, oh, he's not the right guy, this, that, and the other. He's the only manager since Sir Alex Ferguson to show any semblance of ruthlessness. He's doing what people have been screaming for 10 years, and they won't acknowledge it at all. Nah, I don't like the system. Don't like the formation. Nah, it's just something about his hair. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Yeah, maybe it's the jumpers. I don't know. He is actually nailing one of the biggest issues we've had at the football club for the last 10 years. And to be fair, shout out to the ownership, Barada and Wilcox, because there has been times in the past, Jose Mourinho specifically, where he said, I want rid of that player, and the club have gone, no. So it probably happened with Ten Hag and Ollie as well. So it is a great point. And, you know, it's really, really true. Daniel Sack says, have you seen Sean Connolly tweet on Baleba? I've seen this person across the summer. I've never heard of them being credible. I'm not about to say that they're credible now. I know who the credible people are. And, you know, you're giving him a glow up. I'm not going to give him a glow up. I don't know what it is. But if it's about Baleba, I would say we're signing him next summer or we're signing him in January. That'll be my rough guess. And I'll tell you now, Romano or Ornstein don't know that. So it's completely and utterly speculative and made up. Baleba, Manchester United, maybe he will sign in January. Maybe he will sign in the summer. Maybe he won't sign at all because we won't have £100 million in January either. You know, it's just nonsense. We shouldn't be talking about January transfers or the summer transfers when it's not even a week since last summer. We shouldn't be talking about it. Because United don't have any fucking plan to buy anybody in January or the summer at the moment. They never do. They never do. And if they had plans to buy a midfielder, they would have done it a week ago. Runar says, I want your opinion, boss. Next year, it will be 26 years since Norway last was in the World Cup. How will they do next year with Nuzza, Bob, Odegaard, Sorloth and Haaland on the bench? Have you qualified? If you've qualified, well done. Okay, I've just been sent it here. So, I mean, shout outs to Sean. You know, I've just never heard of him being credible. You know, so you're getting a big glow up here. There's 12,000 people watching. So Sean says, Manchester United are I mean, who is he? Oh, he's got a podcast. Okay. Manchester United are prepared to place a bid for Baleba in January to see off any rivals. The player has requested that Brighton accept any suitable bid and is eager to join Amorim's group with or without European football, as his views the growing project as an irresistible. Oh, God, what a crock of shit. I mean, come on. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there are people out there that lap that up on a Saturday night. Most of them have had about 8 pints. I mean, that I'm sorry. I think there's an IQ test for that, and it's a relegation zone IQ. I mean, who's going to be sat there excited about Baleba coming in January and telling Brighton to accept any suitable bid? It's just it's a cock and bull story, to be honest, isn't it? I mean, you know, if you want to get excited about it, great, but come on. I'm never getting those 2 minutes back. Anyway, back to more and the Norway thing. If you've qualified for the World Cup, Runa, well done. I think you've got an amazing amount of talent there. As you know, we have the Bundesliga on That's Football. And I'm a big fan of Nusa. I think he's a bloody brilliant player, and I think he's going to be another big export at some point from the Bundesliga, maybe next summer. But the thing about Norway is Is your goalkeeper and defence shit? Because you've got so many good attacking players. Chicken says, I'm bored of talking about Baleba. My opinion on Baleba is he'll never be a Man United player. He'll never be a Man United player because Brighton wants £100 million for him. So he'll either be a £100 million player and be brilliant, and then someone else will go for him, or he won't be a £100 million player and we won't sign him. I don't think he'll sign. So that's my story. Man United won't sign Baleba. Wolfie has gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much for that. You're an absolute legend, sir. If you got one of the memberships, then please do say thank you to Wolfie, like D-Lad said there. Do you think we bring a more expensive goalkeeper in the summer, says Tumbleweed? Mate, you never know. You never know. I mean, look, if I was Lammens, when I get my chance, if I take my chance, I'm the goalkeeper of Manchester United for the next few years. David De Gea was young when we brought him in. He could walk in those shoes. Look, possession is everything. And if he can get into that shirt and learn and do well in a short period of time, why would you buy a replacement? So maybe Vitek comes back from Bristol. We've been off Binder and we've got 2 young goalkeepers. I don't know. But then again, on the other hand, like Slim Shandy says, we could end up going for Costa next summer, which is a goalkeeper that Amorim has always admired. Thank you very much for your super chats tonight, by the way. Jamie Jack Johnson says, I love your insights. I'm getting the away kit with your name on it. What number do you want to be? Please do not get my name on the back of your shirt. If you walk around anywhere near, anywhere, you'll probably get called names. I'm just saying, like, you know, for your own health, don't do it. People can be quite vicious, as I found tonight, for no apparent reason. If he doesn't play, why didn't we just buy a number 1? If he doesn't play, why didn't we just buy a number 1, says Jimbo? Because maybe Lammens was all we could afford. I don't know. The New Zealand Outsiders. I'm watching this film, mate, tonight. You can't ruin it. Miles Teller's character gets put through the ringer in Whiplash. It's hard to believe Mainoo ain't talking about how hard he's been pushed in training. Look, my final point on Mainoo is that he did ask to go on loan. Or David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano are liars, and he's never posted under their posts that they're lying. So the great thing about Mainoo responding to our post is that he's basically saying that's been taken out of context. My post was out of context in relation to what that journalist said. That wasn't what I was saying. So we have to take it that he's working hard. He's going to, you know, absolutely go through the ringer, as NZ Outsiders said, to get into that team. And this is great news. The window is shut, and he's basically saying, I'm going to push myself to the limits to get into this team. That is the message, as clarified by Cobby this morning. Brilliant. The message last week was he wanted to go on loan. So, you know, it has been, some would say, you know, a mess from all parties, the manager, the player and the club. And for a few days, it was confusing because when David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano say the player's desperate to leave on loan, that hurts. I know he's not saying he wants to leave, but I want him to stay with the manager I want to stay, with the player I want to be our big hope in the midfield. We have got that now. Time to go to work. Time to go to work. And that's where we are, and we have that clarity. Last week, you know, it was a little bit different, but now it's time to go to work. And you know, these young players are always going to be on social media, but you know, I think if you're on social media, it's an intelligent thing to not let ambiguity fester. And we know what the situation is. Footy, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for getting your badge in. You've driven out another player. Great supporter, says Hambo. You see, these are the sort of people I'm talking about. Absolute fool. Just on that, I'm just going to say this one more time. I have never, ever, ever said anything negative about wanting Mainoo out of this club, because actually he's a player I want us to build our team around. So start your agenda, tell your lies, but that's a fact. And the people who matter know that. And the people who don't matter, you know, need to take a look in the mirror at the sort of people they actually are. Because you're liars. You're toxic. You're the toxic people. Do you like I don't know what that is, so I'm not going to say it, Mr. Blues. Mark, I watched all of your Onana must go videos and had tears in my eyes from laughing. Yes, love them. The worst Ten Hag signing ever. Ridiculous people are nuts. We love you in the United stand. Sue, says Christine. Thank you very much, Christine. Yeah, look, what's my opinion on Onana going? I've sort of spoken about some of yours. I've spoken about how Amorim's wanted this for months, and Wilcox. They finally got it. Well done. You can't always sell a player. You know, I saw today that Barcelona have paid off another player. You know, the lad from Chelsea, is it Romu? They've paid him off. I mean, I'm surprised he's still playing, but they've paid him off. We're bad at removing players. And in the past, because we couldn't remove them, we kept them. What we're doing now is we still remove them. All right, you might not get a transfer fee. You might not cover all their wages, but you still remove them. Because in my opinion, if you've got a player on 140k a week and you don't want them to be here, why would you keep them here? Because you can't get rid of them and pay them 140 grand a week. Surely you're better off sending them somewhere else and paying 70 grand a week. You're still saving 70 grand and they're not here. But in the past we wouldn't do it. We'd sort of almost go, well, we're still paying for them, so why we may as well keep them. This is a great idea. You don't always have to sell players. There are ways to remove them. The most important thing is to remove them, and that's what we're doing. Glenn C says he thought we were still the club that let him go around the world in 80 minutes so he wouldn't miss a game in the AFCON. Glenn C. Sorry, I didn't answer the question. My thoughts on Onana. I thought, honestly, you can probably watch the video when we signed him. I said a lot of positive things. I'm pretty sure I would have said I didn't agree with us removing De Gea, but we have, and Onana is a good goalkeeper, and I'm excited to see what he can do. I'm stunned at how shit he is. That stunned me. You know, at the time, and I still do speak to Ben Foster on the regular, but I was doing shows with Ben at that time, and the amount of conversations we had off air about Onana and on air, and I would say, he's just technically not very good. I remember that Cole Palmer goal at Old Trafford, where it was a P-roller in the bottom corner, and he was almost diving down in slow motion. He just couldn't get, he never could get down quick enough. For me, he was more of a bodybuilder than an agile goalkeeper. Crap in the air, not a great shot stopper. Distribution was disappointing. I thought he was going to be good at that, but the big thing for me is that technique-wise, Jordan Pickford's way better than him. Jordan Pickford's a way better goalkeeper than Onana, and we spent £50 million on that. And look, I actually am not in the Ten Hag hate club. He won 2 trophies in 2 years, and he did do some good things. But the treatment of De Gea, and then to spend... I mean, look, David De Gea was in his prime and one of the best shot stoppers in the world. We sent him on holiday with the promise of a new contract, and then while he was on holiday, we emptied his locker and said, you're sacked. And then we spent £50 million on Onana. I will never get my head around that. We had a goalkeeper that was brilliant. We booted him out the door for free, and then we spent £50 million to replace him with someone who was way worse. Yeah, it goes down to one of the worst transfers in our history. So there aren't many positives about the Onana thing, other than I think he's probably a nice guy, and there's many a goalkeeper at United that is, completely and utterly sunk under the pressure. Fabian Barthez was a World Cup winner, and he sunk under the pressure of Manchester United. So he's not the first, and he might not be the last. Being a Man United goalkeeper is something, very, very difficult. How is Beth taking the Onana news, says Jack? I think she's taking it like everybody else. I mean, I've seen a lot of people today celebrating it, and I know for a fact, they wanted De Gea out. Like, I've seen people, doing all sorts of reactions, and I'm like, you were definitely one of the De Gea out crowd. So, that's how bad Onana's been. I don't disagree with them. Yeah, Beth wants Onana gone as well. That's how bad he's been. People wanted De Gea out for a ball-playing goalkeeper. And even those people have gone celebrating and put their hands up and said, okay, I was wrong. And that's fine. You can be wrong. You said this season we have to back the manager of the team and don't hear what crap media says, but media still make drama about United and our players. I wish they leave us alone. They're always going to do that, chicken. They're always going to do that. But that's why we discuss it, because I think you get a fairer, rounded conversation in that sense. They're always going to talk about us. Quoting Cersei Lannister, the game's so back, says Kieran. I hear Goldbridge FC is looking at Onana, says Cozy. And I never liked Onana from the start, and I'm happy he's gone. Hopefully Lammens can develop into our long-term keeper. Keep up the good work. I listen every day, says Lord of Lord 7. Thank you very much, pal. I don't mind the loan if he stays. We would have been knocked out in the FA Cup. This bid raises my blood pressure. Thank you very much, Nigel. He'll never be back. No player that we've loaned out for a year ever comes back. It's just the long goodbye. And, you know, we did it with Anthony, and it will be. Do you start Lammens only in cup games or leagues, says Stretford? If we're only starting Lammens in cup games, he ain't playing till mid-January. So we've got no cup games. We're out, mate. So, no, we've got to try and get him into the... got to get him back into the team. How many more pub teams are after him on loan, says 5 Cantonars. It's a good league. It's a good league for him to go to, the Turkish league, because the tax laws are very lenient. So even if they give him, they won't have to give him 140 grand a week to cover his wage because the tax is a lot better there. So it'll be fine. Byron Ross with the super chat says, Mainoo hides behind stretch, but Palmer knew it's petulant. Whiplash boss isn't just tough, he's abusive. Mainoo thinks he's better than he is. Look, Byron, maybe this morning I would have said, look, you're entitled to read it how you want to. But I think when the player comes out and said that interpretation is an exaggeration, then as United fans, we have to get behind this manager and get behind our players. And we can't stir up speculative stories when we've got clarity from the player. And we have clarity from the player, and that's replying to our own post. So I'm happy about that. As I said this morning, unless we're going to get a miracle from Kone, Mainoo is our big hope. I do not rate Bruno as an 8. Casemiro has no legs, and Agate's confidence is on the floor. Mainoo is the hope in that midfield. I'm hoping we're going to see the Mainoo of 2 years ago, who can play as a 6, who can play as an 8, who is going to give us what Declan Rice gave West Ham. You know, that's what I'm hoping for. He wants to he wants to play in the World Cup. If you want to play in the World Cup, you are up against people like Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham, proper top-class midfielders. That's what I'm expecting from Mainoo this season. So he's given the clarity. I believe he's a fantastic player. A lot of you do. There's no need to speculate because he's given the clarity and there's nowhere for him to go. Like we have between now and the end of the season. Some might say January, but come on, end of the season. Let's get behind this because it's going to be a bumpy ride and we don't need to feed into that bump. Stretford Signal, thank you very much. I think starting Lammens against City is a big gamble. If he plays bad, it could destroy him, but he plays well, he could be so hyped, says Just Picks 44. Look, do you want to... It's interesting with a goalkeeper. Here's a quiz question for you. Who did Taibbi make his debut against? He made his debut at Manchester United. So in 1999, we purchased him on the 31st of August 1999, so straight after the treble. He made his debut against Liverpool, where he failed to claim a high ball from a free kick, allowing Sami Hyypiä to score. However, he made a number of saves, including a one-on-one from Schmeichel. United went on to win 3-2, with Taibbi getting the Man of the Match award. I forgot about that. He shared goalkeeping duties with fellow understudy Van der Hau, taking responsibility for league matches while Van der Hau started in the UEFA Champions League, even after Bosnic's recovery. However, a mistake against Southampton in September when Taibbi let a weak shot from Letizia slip through his legs into goal led to him being dubbed the Blind Venetian by one newspaper. He played once more for Man United in a 5-0 defeat at Chelsea. He actually played 4 games for Manchester United. But went on to play 131 games for Atalanta. Yeah. So, yeah, look, my point is we could wait and give him his debut against Sunderland and he could make a right mistake. And it's worse to make a mistake against the shit team. You could put him in goal against Man City. He'll be busy, but he could make loads of saves and people could go, well, United lost, but that keeper looks good. 78% of you would start him. I would start him. I would start. There is a risk, but Manchester United used to be about risk. The risk is, if it goes wrong, people will call him a flop. But if he's busy and he's good, as a goalkeeper, the team can be crap and you can be man of the match. Like, I just think if Bienda makes a mistake, you put more pressure on him, don't you? Because it's like, Bienda's shit, now he's got to play. Maybe do it against Chelsea, but I don't think he will start, but I would start him, yeah. Do you think Sesko will start the derby, says Visco? I agree with Robert McCormack. I think if Mount and Cunha were fit, I don't think he'd have started Sesko. I think he'd have gone with the old false nine thing again, which I think is too respectful of Man City. I watched Spurs play Man City at the Etihad, and you can bloody get at that defence, especially now John Stones is injured as well. So I wouldn't be playing false nine shit. I don't think City are that team anymore. I think you can get at them. Joe Palmer says, shout out Kev for not being dead. I speak for everyone saying we need more of him this season. Day one fan needs him. It's where it's all began. Says give Kev a show, says Joe. Kev's absolutely alive and well. I've just liked a post of his on Instagram sipping red wine. My kind of Saturday night drink. And Kev is definitely going to be involved on the United stand as always. An original gangster, as I call him. Nice words, nice work, Mod. Some of the chat has been weird, says Rob Dobson. Yep, legends as always. Mainoo's put himself in a tricky spot. He wanted to go. Now the spotlight's on him. Time to step up and show he's ready for the challenge. Hope he works, says John. Well, will Mainoo start against Man City? I think it's a very similar situation to Le Mans. I'd like to see Le Mans starting in goal and Mainoo starting in the midfield. I personally think it would be Inder in goal and Casemiro in the midfield. But, you know, I want to see those things happening. Talking of the mods, Sally Devil Red 7 has just gifted 5 memberships. You're an absolute legend, Sally. Dragon Guide says, I want us to buy 5 or 6 £30 million players with great scouting instead of 60 million plus players. Quantity over quality. I hope they see it through with Amorim, says Dragon Guide. Sorry, I am yawning. I've driven for 5 hours today, which I don't feel terribly bad about, but it can be quite draining. We don't have to worry about penalties now, says Angel Bomb. And even if Mainoo want to go, he doesn't want to create some toxic stuff like Garnacho, and he has respect for the fans either way. He's a good lad, much like Rasmus, says Chicken. Yeah, Mainoo never wanted to go, did he? He never wanted to go. He wanted to go on loan. He didn't want to get sold. Mainoo should get royalty from Whiplash. It's trending. Well, I'm watching it tonight. Footy, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. Thomas says your speech is brilliant. What speech? He's given us a £10 super chat. What speech? I want to know what speech. What speech? But thank you very much for your very generous super chat, Thomas. You're brilliant for giving us that. How many signings do you think we need to challenge the league? I would say over £500 million. Amorim is the modern day Sir Alex mentality-wise, says Tatiana. Look, clip me up all you like. I like Amorim. My message to Mainoo has been trust him. Work hard and you will be rewarded. Casemiro was nowhere near that team for 6 weeks. Then he was starting games. Agate was in that team. Then now he's not in the team. And that's in your position. Like, it's amazing what Maud said, that he thinks that Mainoo could oost Bruno this season and Amorim would allow it to happen. I mean, that's a hell of a job to do that. But I just think trust this manager. So, sometimes, in life, you see something and it's got to get worse to get better. I mean, the easiest analogy is a house. You buy a house, it's in ruins, half of it's fallen down, and, you get the experts round and they say, yeah, we can fix this. But actually, the quickest and best way to do it, that's going to, be worth more and be safer, is to knock it all down and rebuild it again. And you say, but if we fix what's here, will it be okay? Yeah. But if you knock it all down, it will take slightly longer, but it will definitely be safe. And I think that's what Amorim's done. He's come in and it's crumbling and it's ruins, and he could have started building straight away like everyone else did. And I think he's actually gone, no, no one's ever done what needs to be done. We need to tear this all down. We need to get rid of all the dead wood, all the rot. We need to take it back to the very bare bones and then build. So it has to get worse to get better because you're still breaking it down. Whereas every other manager's come in and tried to do the quick fix on the ruins. Whereas Amorim's come in and gone, no, we're going to make more damage to clear the foundations and build again. And that's what we're going to do. Lammens says his name is pronounced Lammens, which is what I do, Abraham. I do that. That's what I do. I do that. I do that, sir. Whiplash review tomorrow, 6 being the average, says John. Well, you know what? There are 15,000 people watching here. That is not an insignificant amount of people that might be watching Whiplash tonight. So, Mainoo started a movement, and we're on that train. I'm very intrigued to watch it. I actually like Amorim not starting Mainoo after the loan request. Teaching players to work hard and not taking your spot in lineup for granted is key, says Dragon Guide. And you know what? What do you think Amorim thinks about that Mainoo post? What do you think You know what? If I was Ruben Amorim, I was thinking about this on the drive home before I'd read all the bloody stupid death threats and stuff like this. I was driving home and I was thinking, you know, like when you're in the car and Seb was on his iPad and Mrs. Goldbridge was, you know, probably asleep, and we're just driving back up the M40. And, you know, you're having thoughts in your head. Someone might have been talking to me, actually, but I was having a better conversation in my head. And I thought, you know what? We're really bad at this. Everyone's trying to understand what Mainoo meant by that, and now we know. But I also thought, what does Amorim think? Because if I was Ruben Amorim, and what your review of that film is, and I'll be able to tell you tomorrow, if that review, if that film is like one of the top comments on the video this morning said, then if I'm Ruben Amorim, I'm probably sat there going, fucking damn right, mate. You get it. Good. I'm glad I get it. I like it. I like the fact that he's associating me with that film because that's exactly what it is. We're not friends. You're not my son. You're an employee trying to get into my team. And to get in my team, you do need to fucking work like that. But I will only ask people to work like that if I believe they've got it in them. So you can take it as I'm treating you harshly. But I'm treating you harshly because I believe you've got the minerals. I am not going to just go and take any old bag of shit and work them hard. I'm working you hard because I believe you have the talent. So yeah, you get it. And I don't care if you want to paint me like that because we're not friends. I'm your boss. And if you want to say that I'm, you know, going to take you to the limit to get you where you need to be, damn right. Let's get to work. Rocky Balboa time. Start the music. We're going to Philadelphia. Run up them steps. So I think if you were Amorim, you'd probably look at that and go, yeah, good. Good. That's what I want. And you know when you get there, you tell me you were right all along. I don't care. Because you'll be in the team performing the way I want, and I'll applaud you for it. Have I ever had that in my life? I'm two-footed because of somebody like that in my life. I remember being about 8 years of age, and my granddad had said, we had this little wall at my granddad's house, and he said, kick the ball against that wall as far as you can and stand about 10, as hard as you can, stand about 10 metres away, and there's two things to learn here. The wall was only about that high, so he said you've got to hit the wall without hitting it over the wall. Then when you hit the wall, you've got to hit it as hard as you can, and then when you hit it as hard as you can, that's got to bounce close enough to you that you can control it. So, yeah, the wall was only about that high. Yeah, I had to hit it as hard as I could, hit the wall, and then hit it in a way that it came back to me and I controlled it. All on my right foot. And I did it. It took me about a week because I just went out there and did it all the time in all the weather. And I showed him and he went, that's great. Now go and do it with your left. And that was it. And it always sticks with me because I didn't even get, all I got was that's great. Now go and do it with your left. And then about 3 months later, Came home from school. I said, Grandad, we won 6-1 and I scored a hat-trick with my left foot. And he went, all the work's worth it, isn't it? Well done. And that, you know, that sticks with me because I think, you know, that I don't know whether we have enough of that in the society. I don't think that's the youth of today's fault. I think we live in a different world, the X Factor generation, where anything's possible and you don't necessarily have to work hard for it. And these people, you know, I responded really well to that. Really well to that. You know, people that I respected massively being quite, you know, structured in what you need to do. And it, you know, taught me a lot. And I don't think Amorim will mind that. I really don't. I will review it tomorrow. Elliot Anderson for Casemiro next summer, says Playmaker. He's going to cost a lot of money. Hi, Mark from Trabzonspor. Our next match is against Fenerbahce that has Edison as the goalkeeper. Would you consider putting on a Trabzon shirt and supporting us for the real Premier League experience? Good luck to Man United, says V1SY. Mate, I just hope we're not throwing you a Pratt man, you know. I wish you all the best, and I wish Onana all the best if he goes there. And I'll certainly be supporting Trabzonspor over Fenerbahce, because I only liked Fenerbahce because they had Mourinho and Fred. But yeah, look, I hope you do well. Thank you very much for your lovely message. I wish Onana a successful loan at Trabzonspor, says Nigel. Appreciate that, mate, as well. And who did it better, Onana versus Grimsby or Barthez versus Arsenal? Spin, I've got to say, I think Onana against Grimsby is one of the worst goalkeeping performances I've ever seen in my life at Manchester United. I remember that Taibbi highlights. I don't think I watched it. I don't think that Southampton game was on the telly, and I certainly wasn't there in '99 because not in September. I lived in Dublin, so I wouldn't have been over for that. And that Grimsby game is the worst goalkeeping performance I've seen from a Man United goalkeeper. I've seen worse mistakes from a Man United goalkeeper, but that whole performance was horrific. Like, it was just, it was a complete shite performance. I think it's his worst performance in a Man United shirt as well. Gavin says Andy Gorham Champions League was worse. I mean, Dubravka, when he air kicked it, wasn't very good on loan either. We've had a few bad goalkeeping displays, but I just thought the quality of the to do it against Grimsby, with all respect as well, was just horrific. I mean, he bloody cost us we're not in the Carabao Cup because of him. Looking forward to the derby, and speaking of goalkeepers, Ahmad got his first goal for us against Donnarumma, says Naz Aradine. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to having football back. I didn't watch the England game, but a few of my mates did. They were messaging me basically saying the international break is shite. And I said, I'm really enjoying it. You know, I've got out today. I don't always get to go and watch my daughter play because she plays on a Saturday and there's normally matches going on. Seb tomorrow morning. So, you know, it's you know, we're still doing United Stand. There's still plenty to talk about, but I don't mind the first international break, because I think after this tour and the summer and the transfers, and you know, I also think from a United point of view, this 2 weeks is good for us. There's a few players that are going to really benefit from this 2 weeks. So I don't mind this international break. I think the October and November. I don't mind the November one because we do the charity stream in the middle Saturday. The October one's the one that pisses me off. I think that's the one that bothers me the most. Because normally, the October international break is, I was doing the maths on it. Over the last 10 years, the October international break, more than 50% of the time, has been riddled with a manager out movement. That's incredible. Do the maths. In the last 10 years, 5 of them, there's been big manager out movements. Yeah, Jem says, can't wait for the charity stream. It comes around a lot, very, very quick, doesn't it? It's one of those yearly events that comes around really quick. But yeah, November international break for that. We raised over 50,000 last year in 12 hours. We've done over £200,000 in the last few years. It's an incredible cause, and you are incredible. It's one of those things we do, actually, that no one ever takes any bloody notice of. And in a way, that's great, because I tell you who does take notice of it, the people who get the money for the charity. But it's an incredible achievement. We do a lot. We do a lot as a community. Amorim being hard on players is the attitude fixer we have been asking for. Maybe he's pushing Mainoo like Sir Alex pushed players, says Dragon Guide. He'd be a better player because of this, if he responds to it. I was at the Man United game, Man United Southampton game. Trust me, Taibi was horrendous the whole game. Cheers for all you do. Screw the cowards, says Tom. Thank you, pal. Thank you very much for your comment. Can't believe the great film buff Goldbridge has never seen Whiplash. There are a few, Snail, that have slipped through the net. And that is clearly one, but tonight I'll catch it. Not qualified yet, says Runa about Norway. Been in a group with Italy, Israel, Estonia, Moldova. 6 points ahead of Italy. Defence not good. Goalkeeper good. Left back average. Centre back Brentford. Right back Dortmund. Rest is bad, says Runa. Dragon Guide we've done. Doing that. Okay. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. Little bit of a quick after show now, but thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. 15,000 on a Saturday night is huge. So well done, everybody. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. 79% of you would start Lammens over Bienda. Look, I've got to say I'm in a very positive mood tonight. I'm really, really pleased that Onana's going. I think it's best for everybody, and it's another step in the right direction, and it's another piece removed by Amorim. And I'm really pleased about that Mainoo post because it just gives clarity at the fact that he's actually here to work. There is no issue. He's here to work. And I think he can be our saviour in the midfield this season. So I'm feeling positive. We've got to go with what we've got. As I said on Tuesday, I'm behind this manager. I'm behind this team. And collectively, let's give it a bloody good go. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But if we get a little bit of luck and things go our way, we might get away with it. We might get top 5. The great thing about driving for 5 hours is that you listen to the radio. And I don't know about you, when I'm driving, whether it be Manchester, London or whatever, I'm quite an impatient radio listener. I never listen to my music. I always listen to the radio because of like travel updates, etc. But I will skip. Even if it's a song I quite like, I don't know whether anyone else does this. A song might come out that I quite like Year 2000 by Pulp. And I'll go, I do like that, but there might be something better. So I'll flick to something else, and it'll be like Simply the Best by Tina Turner, which she wrote about me. And I'll go, that's quite good, but I'll flick on. I'll try a bit of Magic. Ooh, Aha. Sun Always Shines on TV. And then I'm like, they're all okay. Try one more. Absolute 90s. Oasis. That'll do. But sometimes you'll come back. I'm very much like that on the radio. But also, I do think that sometimes you get amazing questions, call-ins, right? So, driving along, and Gabby Roslin's on, I think it was Magic, and she's reading out this quiz question, and somebody rings in and has a go at it, and gets it wrong. So she goes, oh, that's such a shame. What are you going to do for the rest of the day? And she says, well, we're all heading out for my mum's 60th at 1 o'clock. We're all going out for a nice meal. So I've got to get my eldest son out of the bath. It was like night. I'd literally just set off. So it was about 10:30. And I said to the missus, I said, who has a bath in the morning? I'm definitely bringing this into the after show. Who has a bath in the morning? Why would you have a bath in the morning? I don't get that. And then the missus said, oh, I've spoken to some of the mothers at Seb School and stuff like that. And apparently, some people get up in the morning and have a bath. And I said, what, the parents? And she said, I can't remember. I just remember some people saying it. I thought, who has a bath in the morning? Who gets up and has a bath? Oh, I'm absolutely knackered from last night and I'm hungover. I'm just going to go and run a bath. Like, am I missing something here? I remember a few years ago we had this conversation about when you're in the shower, I always have my back to the wall. I've not been in prison or anything like that. I'm just like, always have my back to the wall. And it blew everybody's mind because a lot of people face the wall. So the shower's on, you face the wall. I turn the other way. I face my back to the wall. It's apparently a 50-50 split. Do people take a bath in the morning? Because I don't get it. A bath for me, and I prefer a shower. I'm not going to lie. But I like a bath in the winter. When it's a bit cold outside. I actually like to have a bath really hot. Open the bathroom window. The cold air's coming in, but you're in a hot bath and you can see the steam coming up. bit of bubble bath. You know, I get the posh one from John Lewis. I can't remember what it's called. They have all different flavours. Molten brown, that's it. But a bath for me is a complete and utter relaxant. In fact, I will tell a truth. I have a shower before I have a bath. I want to be clean when I get in the bath. I don't want any bits of anything popping out of anywhere. I'd never poo in the bath, but what I'm saying is, you know, you might have a bit of mud on your knees from football or something like that. Football! I'm not getting mud on my knees from anything else. As I said, backs to the shower. But look, yeah, a bath for me is a relaxant at the end of the day. Solid Blake says he makes his own bubbles. But a bath in the morning? Okay, I could just think about myself like when I used to work in banking and, you know, I just get up. What are you doing in the bathroom? I'm just running myself a bath. Do you think you'll catch the train in time? Yeah. I've got up half an hour early to soak in the bath. I'm going to get my book and candles out and I'm going to do my bubble bath. In fact, can you bring my crunchy nut cornflakes? I'll actually have them while I'm relaxing in the bath. Just so you know, you've got to leave the house in 10 minutes. So enjoy the last 10 minutes. Just a couple more minutes relaxing. Oh, yeah, don't worry. It's the perfect start to a day. A nice relaxing bath before I go down and commute into bloody Birmingham. God, no. It's got to be at the end of the day. You know, a bath for me is like, end of the day, relax. When I get out of this, I'm putting on my dressing gown. Gonna have a nice little cup of tea and then I'm going to bed. I ain't having a bloody bath in the morning. If this is a thing, I've missed out. I really have. And then the second thing was, and Seb got involved in this, we're still driving and we turned onto a different radio station. I forget what it was, but it was a male. So it could have been Absolute Radio or it could have been Heart or something. And he's there and he's going, a lot of people going down to uni this week to start university. So a lot of people will be packing. Ring in and tell us where you're heading and what you've forgotten. And I went, what a rubbish. God, they're really scraping the barrel here, aren't they, the producer? What a rubbish calling. And then Seb piped up and went, yeah, they're all going to lie as well, aren't they? And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, well, they're just going to say stuff like, I've forgotten my toothbrush or I've forgotten my makeup or something like that. They're not going to ring in and say, I've forgotten my pants. And I was like, that's quite good. And if you weren't in the car, I'd say, you know, a woman on her way to university, or a man, actually, works with a man as well. I've just realised I've forgotten my rampant rabbit. I won't be getting my 12 inches tonight. Unless I get lucky down the student bar. That was not said. That was not said. I thought that, but Seb's equivalent of that was obviously something else. But yeah. What have you forgotten? Rubbish. Absolutely rubbish. I'd love to have a radio show and do a call-in. Actually, talking about Seb, he brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. We're walking home from school the other day and he came out with we were playing football he says we were playing football today but it started to rain so we had to stop, so all the lads, we were just talking around. He's 8. All the lads were just talking around and I can't remember what name the friend was. Let's say it was Johnny. Johnny was telling us about this right Karen that he lives with. I went, she's called Karen? He went, no. Johnny was saying that he lives next door to a right Karen. The pride in me just lit up. I says, a Karen? He went, yeah. And I said, and what's I know what a Karen is. I said, and what's a Karen? He says, well, it's basically, for example, you know, you're riding your bike around, running your own business, and then she would come out and start moaning, saying, why are you riding your bike near my house? And I went, yeah, that is a Karen. And I said, what does this Karen do that he lives with? I said, he says, I can't remember, but loads of stuff. She's a right Karen. And I thought, yes, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So, you know, kids today know what a Karen is. Brilliant. They're teaching them properly in school. Grown man taking a bath is crazy, says Blackwood. Mate, you're talking to the wrong person here. Like, as I said, I'll listen to Tina Turner. I'll listen to Oasis. I'll listen to Marvin Gaye, and I'll listen to, you know, Will Young. If I like the song, I like the song. And it's the same with film. I like Dirty Dancing. I like Heat. These are films, by the way. And I like a nice shower, power shower, you know, with the peppermint shower gel. Rub that on your crotch. That'll wake you up. And that's not even rude. Every bloke knows the peppermint shower gel. You know what? You know where to put it, and you know what it's for. And if you don't, shut up. Like, we know. That's not for there. It works there, but it gives you a boost. Anyway, I mean, it's not a sexual thing. It's just very hot. So I like a shower with the peppermint shower gel. I'll put my hands up to that. But I'll also say I like a nice, relaxing shower gel, bath with a molten brown tobacco flavour. Like it smells lovely. And, you know, I never do have a candle, but a nice good book. A nice Jilly Cooper. No, I'm joking about that. Thanks everyone for watching. Really good show. I'm going to, you know what film I'm going to watch. I mean, it's no lie, you know, it's no lie. But a very good after show, a very good show altogether. It's been a long day, but it's been a good day. You know what? I didn't expect this today. I didn't expect we'd get that brilliant clarity from Mainoo, and I didn't expect we'd be moving Onana on. So a good day, I think, and a good after show, and a really good show. Tomorrow, it won't be 10 o'clock again because Seb's game is going to clash with that. So it will be more, I'll try and get it as close to 10 as I can. I'd say probably 9:30 tomorrow morning we'll go live. I think he's kicking off at 11. So we need to be there for 10:30. Yeah, 9:30 tomorrow morning we'll be live. And we'll have the Sunday night show tomorrow. And then another week starts and we're getting closer back to football. So take care, everyone. I've really enjoyed the show tonight. Really exactly what I needed. Stay safe. Brilliant community. Nobody does it better. And if I was Tina Turner, I'd have wrote simply the best for you. Yeah? You know, see what I did there? Speak to you in a bit.